Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon. Listen in as him and other members of the J Harmon Home Team speak about all things real estate with local experts here in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out jharmonhometeam.com for more information and how to get in touch with our amazing team. Welcome to the show.
I love that part. Thanks for joining us on This Week in Real Estate. My name is Jonathan Harmon. I'm with the J Harmon Home Team powered by Keller Williams. And one of the things, Trent, that I believe in is vulnerability. And, I send out a weekly email. Michelle sends it out for me. And sometimes I'm fairly vulnerable. I'm kind of vulnerable in some of my,
you're good at that.
My Facebook. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I go through some stuff that's frequently self-induced stupidity. And, if I can save one person from that stupidity by sharing my own stupid story, then I feel like that's a good mission.
Hey, that's doing God's work.
That's it. You're doing the heavy lifting, right?
That. We'll call it that.
Dave Ramsey calls it stupid tax, so we'll go with that too. But in that vein, Michelle over here, Michelle Reeves, said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if on This Week in Real Estate you had your team interview you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And now here we are. I've got Shannon Hoesli, Trent Denson over here, so part of my team. This seat should be John Michael Robinson, but he is a little under the weather right now.
Feel better?
Yeah, love you, man. Hope you get better soon.
Oh, that's okay. He sent us his questions.
Of course he did. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, Trent, I'm actually a little nervous.
That's surprising. I figured you'd be fired up and not nervous.
I mean, I am fired up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm a little nervous.
Okay.
Like, what if I
We're flipping the switch.
Yeah,
flipping the script all the way on top of its head.
Yeah, and it's a bald head, so I don't know what to do about this. I have no protection.
And that was great when you were like, "Hey, can I get the questions before?" No, like, brother, you cannot.
Maybe next
Shannon goes, "You didn't give me the questions when you interviewed me." I was like, "Touche, you are correct." So anyway, before we get rolling on that, let's hear from our other friend, another. We'll call him an honorary J Harmon Home Team member.
He's definitely part of the squad.
Definitely, Mr. Bryan Nale over at Primis Mortgage. Let's hear from him.
Hey, my name is Bryan Nale. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Bank Mortgage. I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission and helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's truly a pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
Primis Mortgage is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Primis Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
It's pretty boppy.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
You keep threatening the glow sticks.
I just keep forgetting. That's the problem. I've got them. I just need to bring them in. Yep. All right. Okay. Well, I asked them if they wanted to do the intro, and they said no. So I've done the intro. I guess it's all y'all.
Turning it over.
Yeah.
All right. So, in John Michael's stead, Shannon is going to ask John Michael's questions because she doesn't have to keep putting her glasses on and off to see like I do.
The part of John Michael will be played by
Shannon Hoesli.
Okay.
Yes. Welcome, John Michael. What questions do you have for Jonathan?
You're much better
today?
looking than him. I mean, he's a good looking dude, but I mean, come on,
All right. Well, are you ready?
I'm born ready.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So together we have our first question for you is why real estate? We know you have a background in teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and then talk us what happened.
So,
how it happened.
Yeah, 2009
could be either.
2009. I'm coaching wrestling and teaching. I taught economics and business management. I have a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship, And so I've always been a little entrepreneurial. I started mowing grass when I was like 9, in my neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. And you know, the parents were always like, you sell all the time. Like I was constantly trying to sell them on something. And so that was just kind of built in, and I like building relationships. Well, 2009 rolls around. It was the Thursday before Good Friday, in 2009, and I get called into the vice principal's office, and the principal is sitting in there with the vice principal that was in charge of me, right? Like he was over my area. And so I'm like, oh God, this is not good. It's the end of the day. We're out of school the next day. So I'm like, people always get fired on
Yeah.
Friday. And so the principal says to me, hey, we're not going to renew your contract. I mean, it was truly like that short. Right. And I was like, can you tell me why? Because
Did I do something?
yeah, I had great
Yeah.
teaching reviews. Like all of my evaluations were good. I was teaching some pretty cool classes that I had written. Now I had said that I didn't want to coach anymore. I didn't have tenure. So ultimately I think that's what did me in. And she wouldn't tell me the reason. She was, no, we're not obligated to do that. And I'm like, well, maybe you're not obligated to do that, but it'd be kind of cool if you did. So anyway, shell shocked, right? I have a master's degree in education. And so I walked out of that office and I went into my classroom. I just kind of sat there for a second and I cried, and it was a lot, have at this point, Jonas was 3. And so it was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? So I took the weekend and just kind of processed it and, just kind of processed it and ended up doing a seminar called 48 Days to the Work You Love. If you're not familiar with that, it's pretty cool. I was able to attend one that a guy named Nick Allegro and Michael Del Giorno, who used to be on Super Talk 99.7, they hosted this event. And it was like I don't know, like a 6-week program, right? Every week. And Dan Miller is the author of 48 Days to the Work You Love. And that's all important because through that process and through his book, what he said was, it's one of those self-help books where it's like, okay, take your inventory and all of those kinds of things, but it takes it a step further. Okay. It says, so what are you naturally, right? Like what do you do without thinking about doing it? And I'm an educator. Naturally, I'm an educator. At any point, if you ask me something that I know something about, it's very difficult for me to not slip into a lecture of some sort, right? It drives my kids and my wife crazy. And so I do that. So that's the first thing. And then they say, okay, so what are all the fields of industry that fall under that? Okay. And then you narrow that down. And then they say, okay, what do you already have some working knowledge of? While I was in construction, I worked for a guy that built custom houses for 5 years. My parents worked at a lumber yard for 25 years. So, and like, I know a lot about the building process. And we would go, when I was a kid, we would go look at construction sites and look at new construction houses on the weekends for fun. Like we just drove around and looked at houses.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I know a little bit about that. But then the third component is, and you can make money at it. Right. And so a lot of those don't take that next step. It's almost like it's taboo to say, do whatever you love, follow your heart. And then nobody ever says, but make sure you can actually make a living.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many people with English degrees that don't know what to do with it. And nothing against an English
I feel
degree.
attacked.
Yeah, nothing against an English degree. But what are you going to do with it that's going to actually support the life that you want to live?
The question I kept getting was, are
Oh,
you
are you
going to
gonna teach?
teach?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, nobody wants me in charge of their kids. I promise.
Exactly. So, and I think it's okay to say, I want to pursue this because I have a passion for it. But then it's also to qualify that and say, and I can make the life that I want to make, living like dollars wise out of it. And people just don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And so we went through this whole process and it just kind of revealed itself, right? Also, during that time, I did some of the best teaching I've ever done because I had, what are they going to do? Fire me, right?
Mhm.
So I stopped all the curriculum in all of my
Mhm.
classes, and we did Who Moved My Cheese. And we read it to each other in class.
Oh.
We drew out the pieces of cheese and taped them all over the wall. And we talked about how life
Huh.
sometimes moves your freaking cheese.
Hmm.
And it's not fair, but nobody ever said it was going to be. And I think that group of kids got more out of me than anybody ever has, right? Because I was doing it. Like my cheese had been moved. Cheese Station Blackman High School was shut down, boys and girls. And that's okay,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, if you know much about our industry, 2009, the market was
Mhm.
horrifically bad. The market had just crashed, and what I found out was that from 2005 to 2009, 60% of the licensees in the state of Tennessee had retired their licenses.
Hmm.
And so I went, sounds like a job opening,
Mhm.
because what we know, and in this market right now,
Mhm.
because it's shifting, is people will always die. People will always have babies. People will always get married. People
Mhm.
will always get divorced. People will always have kids that move out, right? People will always have parents that move in,
Mm.
right? So if all of that still happens, then guess what? We can still sell
Mhm.
houses,
Yeah.
right?
True.
You just got to
Yeah.
work hard.
Yeah.
And so I got my license in September of 09. I spent that summer working on a farm for a buddy of mine, an older guy that became a little bit of a mentor during that time. He paid me $10 an hour and a dozen eggs a week from his chickens.
Mhm.
True story. And I worked harder that summer than I have in a very long time, and it was really good for me.
Yeah.
It was really, we built a log cabin. I've never done. We
During the summer?
reassembled. Yeah,
Wow.
we reassembled one that had been taken down, like a
Mm.
like a 100-year plus
Hmm.
old log cabin, and we reassembled it on his farm.
Lincoln Logs.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah, basically, you can still
Yeah.
walk through that cabin.
Yeah.
It's
That's
out there at
cool.
Walden Pumpkin Farm
Huh.
in between Smyrna
Yeah.
and Nolensville.
I've been there before.
Yep, one of those cabins.
Okay.
I helped with that.
Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, and he, like I said, Mr. Walden paid me $10 an hour and a dozen eggs a week.
Very nice.
It
That's
it was
cool.
awesome.
It's a good way to spend the summer.
Yeah.
All right. The next question from John Mike, or yeah, I got to pull it up because I don't want to get it wrong. All right. If you could go back when you started, what is one thing you would have done differently?
I probably would have been more diligent early about making follow-up habits
Hmm.
and being consistent in those habits. I don't have the best discipline on prospect follow-up.
Just keeping in touch.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I still don't. And it's because I had some success early, and realtors are notorious for this, right? We're going to prospect like crazy, get some business, and forget to
Mhm.
prospect to keep the business going. And I'm guilty of that. So if we talk and then we don't talk again for another year, it's because I'm lazy and I don't do the right thing on that. So I apologize for that.
I really don't think it's because he's lazy, because this is not a lazy man.
Yeah, well, it feels lazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm supposed to do, right? But I think I would establish a better habit from the beginning of prospect follow up.
Making sure you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Nice.
I like that.
I'm going to give you the next question.
Okay. On the tails of John Michael's question, if you could go back to the beginning of 2021, what would you have done differently to prepare for mid 2022 to now?
Yeah. Ooh, man.
That's a good
I
question.
wanted
So
to
many
throw you a
things.
Question.
really deep
Yeah.
question.
So many things. So number one, without hesitation, and here comes the vulnerability, is I would have seriously, seriously pulled back my personal spending
Mhm.
in 2021. And I got caught up personally in the we're on the gravy train, and what's the song, the road goes on forever and the party never ends. And so I did not have myself positioned adequately in 2022 for the changes. Personally, I did not have myself positioned um adequately for that, and it was stressful. So that's number one. Is I would definitely build that castle a little bit better around myself.
I'm sure
Right?
that's a common trap for a lot of
I
real
think
estate
that
agents.
probably happened to a lot of
Yeah.
people.
For sure. And I want to be the one that's different, and I just wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's easy to do. I mean, real estate's it's an interesting game, um, because you're not paid regularly. And so you might have a month where you literally make what should be your salary for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And so you've got this huge chunk of money up front, and you think, "Oh, no problem. I'll sell another couple houses in the next, or 10 houses or whatever." And then you
Life
don't.
happens.
Yeah, and then you don't. And it's like, "Oh, well, crap. Oops."
Yeah.
And it puts you in a bad spot,
Yeah.
right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is I would have, how do I say this? I would have given during that same time frame, I was opening another business, and doing that, Cedar Glade, doing that was it pulled me away from my main business. And so simultaneously, I'm not doing all the things that I should do, and I'm not giving it all the time that I should. So I think I would have tried to figure out a way to not shift my focus so entirely to the new business. And a new venture, it's going to be a time suck. I mean, it just is. But
Sure.
um, so I don't know if I would have done, drank more caffeine and slept less. I'm not really sure exactly how, but I would have given more attention there.
Okay.
How's that for vulnerable?
That was pretty bone deep there. That was a great, fantastic answer.
Yeah,
Actually.
it kind of hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
So that's okay. You're in a safe space
Yeah,
here,
with
man.
all of these cameras,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Just
right.
don't watch it later. It's
Hey,
fine.
I said
never
you're
do.
Just
I
don't
said
watch
you're
it.
in a safe space here.
Yeah.
In the
Gotcha.
studio.
10-4.
Okay, so my next question is, um, what would be your one piece of advice for a brand new agent starting real estate right now in this current market? What do you think is the one piece of information that they would need to know to move forward and be successful?
Okay. So it's going to sound like multiple pieces, but it's all the same advice.
Okay.
Focus your efforts. Don't be in a hurry. Take your time and build your foundation. That's one step. Okay.
Right.
And so here's what I mean by that is real estate is a relationship business, period. Okay. So assess where you are coming into that. Do you have adequate relationships in the community? Most likely, if you have not been in a job that requires that level of relationship within the community, the answer to that question is no. Okay. And when I say most likely, I'm going to go like 99% of people that come into the business, the answer to that question is no. Okay.
Mm.
So your first thing should be to focus your efforts on building those relationships and continuing to grow your list of relationships forever. Right? You never stop that. Right? You and I have talked about this a lot. So even if you know 500 people, 500 people is not going to give you a career. It's just not. Right? You're going to need to probably 10x that. Okay. And so, but focus your efforts on that, right? That's the one thing that's going to deliver you business, not necessarily faster, because you can buy leads, right? I don't, I haven't. But focus your efforts on that. that is what will build your career, not just your immediate business. So that would be it. And also in that focus on an area, right? Even though you don't have a deal, don't do the business in Dixon.
Yeah.
Refer it, because it's going to distract you from where you should be,
Yeah.
right? So there's that. And then also focus your efforts is, don't look, if you're brand new, don't look at me or Jessica Warner or some of these other great agents, Brad Hopkins, some of these other great agents that are already doing the business, and be like, oh my God, I'm so far
I'm not
behind.
doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm so far behind because I don't have a website. I don't have great social media. I don't have right? Stop. Focus your efforts. Pick one of those things that you're already pretty good at. Plant that. Get some results from it. And then don't stop doing it. Add something, right? Don't substitute something.
You
Okay?
have to realize it takes a lot of time too.
It does.
It's not quick.
I'm 14 years in at this
It
point.
does. I don't think my personal opinion and experience with new agents when I worked at the board of realtors was I didn't feel like a lot of the people who walked through the door were prepared. Like, do you
You're not. You
do
can't
you
be.
know how much work goes into this? Like, I saw a lot of starry-eyed people like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make all these big
Set the world on
sales.
fire. That's it.
Yeah, and and then by the end of the year, they were
It's exhausting.
yeah,
It's exhausting and it's impossible.
yeah,
Okay. So don't compare yourself to someone that's been in the business 10 years, right? If they're doing the right things. Okay.
right,
But instead, figure out one thing, Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, figure out one thing, and be good at it, get really good at it, build some business out of it. But then the other piece of that is a lot of folks, they're not able to concentrate on multiple things at a time. So they'll get really good. They'll get some results over here. They'll start the next initiative and they'll stop doing the first one. So don't do that either.
Yeah.
Right.
right.
So be ready to add the second one after you've integrated the first one into your rituals.
Or it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool. I like that.
Good answer.
Hey, Trent, what questions do you have for our fearless leader?
Let's talk investing. I know we did some property management episodes recently, and some good tips on that first one, and we've done some of the panels that we've done at Cedar Glade have had some really good information. So could you give a quick synopsis, if that's possible, on trying to tackle that first one and kind of the other people's money approach, or just some of those things?
Well, the easiest thing to do to get your first investment property is to convert your first starter house into an investment property.
There you go.
That is by far the easiest way to do it, right?
House hacking.
That's it. So, you buy that starter home or whatever, you live there for a little while, you've got a mortgage on it already, you're already paying the note, you already know what the house, the condition of it, does it need an HVAC, does it need a roof, whatever, right? You already know all of that stuff. You've already done some work to it probably, right? You're familiar with the place, you know where it is, you know what the houses in your neighborhood rent for, you know what the schools are like. So that's an easy first property.
Yep.
Right? And so if your mortgage is $1,600 a month on it, then you know that you need to make $1,700 a month on the rent. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't do it. Right? At least, right? And actually more than that. I know all of you, Bryan, if you're watching, I know more than that. I get it. But my point is that's the easiest first one. Okay. And especially if you bought that, if you're there right now and you bought that house in 2018, by far and away, that's your best first rental, right? Because you didn't pay a lot for it then compared to right now.
Right.
Probably got some equity. You can take a HELOC on that property and use that as a down payment on your second one.
Right.
Okay. Tons of folks start that way. That's how I started. Aside from that, man, I think it just comes down to crunching the numbers. There's a bunch of folks out there that all have their little formulas and whatnot, and most of them end up being about the same thing. But find somebody that is doing it and doing it correctly and doing it well and making money at it and making a living at it, and offer to buy them a coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, the majority of folks that are in this business, at least the ones that I know, they're an open book because they can't do all of it. So therefore, they're okay if you want to do some of
Yeah.
it. Right. So they're an open book. Buy them a coffee,
Mhm.
pick their brain a little bit, get some ideas, and never stop asking questions.
There you go. Is the 1% rule still a thing right now?
You're not in Rutherford County, you're not gonna find it.
Right.
So for those of you that are just listening, this 1% rule is if I pay $300,000 for a property, I should get rent at 1%, so
Oh.
$3,000 a month. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna find a $300,000
Yeah.
property that rents for
Yeah.
$3,000.
Yeah.
And a $300,000 property now is a cheap fixer-upper starter home in Rutherford
Yeah.
County.
Yep.
You know, so no, and what you're talking about, that's called a cap rate. So that's a 10% cap rate is what that amounts to. You're probably going to end up in the sixes instead of the tens. So instead of the 1% rule, it'd be the 0.6% rule.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't it?
Yeah. What else we got?
What do you have, Shannon?
I think I can.
Off the cuff.
Yeah.
Off the top here.
Books.
That's all y'all
What is-
prepared?
No, I've
Come
got,
on
I've
now.
got more. What is your favorite real estate book that
That's a good one.
has taught you the most? And you can have a couple because I'm sure there's probably more than one.
I've already mentioned it,
Mm.
and it's not directly a real estate book, but Who Moved My Cheese?
I don't think I've read
He
that.
really does like that one.
Yeah.
I
He's
love it.
mentioned that multiple
Okay.
times
I love
since I
it.
worked for him.
Yeah. So if you've never read it, it's an allegory. It's 96 pages long.
Yeah, it's a little
Right?
tiny short
Super
book.
short little book, and it's about how life changes, right? And it's all
And
about
how you react when life changes.
and how you react
basically.
when you see the change coming.
Yeah.
Right? Because rarely is there a situation where just all of a
Yeah.
sudden everything changes. Sometimes
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
catastrophes and things like that, right? But rarely is it an all of a sudden thing,
Right.
you know? And so what do? Do you deny that it's happening?
Mm.
You know, do you try to fight against it? I mean, you know, like look at the current market shift, right? Can we sit here and go, oh no, the market's just as strong as it was in 2019? Well, we can,
Yeah.
but that would be dumb,
Yeah.
you know? Or do we try to fight against it? Well, I'm going to be the one that sets the trend. No, you're not. No, you're not. The forces are too strong. Or are you going to be the one that says, hey, it's changing. Let's
Mhm.
go. Right.
You got to change with it.
And here's where the new cheese is, you know, and maybe that means that you got to redesign your entire business approach. Okay. Maybe that means, I mean, I don't know what that means necessarily for your situation, but fighting it and denying it don't work. You're going to be broke and
Yeah.
hungry. So that's probably number one. And as I told you in that other story, I have a special affinity for that book.
Do you have a copy of it?
I have several copies of
I'm
it.
going to borrow that from
Yeah,
you.
you can do that.
Okay.
I actually bought a case of it and gave it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I still have any of those left. I'll
Yeah.
have to look.
I'll give it back.
You don't have to keep it.
I can
I
read it
read it
today.
about once
It's a
a year.
souvenir.
Okay.
Yeah, I read it about once a year just to remind myself.
Yeah.
But that one's good. This is PG, so I'm gonna have to edit myself. My next favorite one is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
Yeah.
I
Fudge.
love that book.
I love it. And
I know y'all are shocked by that.
my
Wow.
favorite
on
lesson
brand.
out of that whole book, is that in our culture, we tend to equate fault and responsibility,
Yes.
and they are not the same thing,
Mhm.
right? And we focus a lot of times on whose fault something is. This just happened and it's your fault.
I think that's because it's the easiest thing to do.
Mhm.
But in
without
those
just saying-
scenarios, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's a form of denial, because in
Yeah.
those situations, we still have a responsibility, right? So if I'm driving down the
Right.
road and someone rear ends me,
Yeah.
it is their fault. But because that happened, I have a responsibility. I have the responsibility to not get out and get in a fight, right? I have the responsibility to report the accident. I have the
Mhm.
responsibility to work with insurance companies. I have the responsibility to get my car fixed. Is it all their fault? Yes. Does that matter?
No.
No, not if
Mhm.
I'm going to move forward. right? But yet we equate that, and we shouldn't,
Hmm.
right? So when we look at a situation and go, this is not my fault, but I have a responsibility, and we focus on the responsibility, we live a better life,
Yeah.
and we're not bitter. You're just not bitter about, you did this to me. Well, so what?
There's too many people like that.
Bitter solves
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing.
All that does is weigh on you.
Well, and it costs you money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I just had a deal. It was one of the more challenging deals I've ever had, and there was all kinds of fault to go around about why, and none of the fault was on me and my client, right? And all kinds of different weird, wacko stuff happening. And so I just looked at that and I was like, none of this, and I told my client, none of this is your fault. None of this is my fault. However, I have a responsibility to you to get this across the finish line. And so I start looking for all the ways that I can assist in getting it across the finish line. And I leverage the relationships that I have, and I call the people that I know, and I say, hey, I need your help. I'm at your mercy right now. And so my responsibility kicked in, even though I could very easily have just sat there and gone, oh,
Yeah.
this other agent, it's all their fault, or this loan officer, it's
Yeah.
all their fault, or this, whatever, this appraiser, it's all their fault. Well, that's not relevant, and it doesn't help the situation.
Mhm.
So we got the deal closed because I took responsibility rather than assigned fault.
Mhm.
So those are probably my two favorites.
Okay.
And
I
neither
like
of them
that.
are overtly real estate, just so you know.
But
That's okay. They don't have to be.
yeah, they teach you to be a better person,
Yeah.
and that will get you far in real estate. All
For
right,
sure.
you're up.
Oh,
If you've
I'm
got
up.
another
Oh,
one.
goodness. Let's see.
I've got a good closing one though.
Okay.
I am so nervous right now.
Let's see. Let's see.
Dead air.
No,
Dead air.
no. It's just thinking air. There's electricity popping in there somewhere. Okay. So when you decided to hire an assistant, just at first back in your real estate history,
Mhm.
what made you decide that you needed an assistant, and how long did it take you to get from like, okay, well, maybe I need to get some help, to yes, I'm hiring someone?
That's a great question. So, first year, 2009, let's go first full year, 2010. I sold 22 houses my first full year, which felt pretty good about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
Really good.
replaced my teaching
Yeah.
salary. The market was dead. It was
Mhm.
2010. Market was horrible. Felt pretty good. Felt like I made the right decision. Next year, I sold 32 houses. Okay. I'm like, okay, we're growing. This is great. And I said, this is awesome. And a coach said, how do you get past that? And I said, I don't know. And then he said, well, how much do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to do 60 transactions in a year.
That's a lot of work.
And he's like, okay, well, what's keeping you from doing that? And so we assessed time, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And I said, man, paperwork is an absolute drag. It is the worst. I hate doing it.
It's a drag for assistants too.
I know. I said, I hate doing it. I'm not good at it. I'm not good with keeping up with it. A deal closes and I'm still trying to get stupid confirmation of agencies and all this stuff. I'm just not good at it. And at that time, that was long enough ago, I still probably had a third of my people that were not signing electronically. Like I would have
Oh,
to go
right.
to
Paper
them.
sign.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ink sign
Yes. I carried big giant files in my backpack.
in your car. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a
Oof.
box of files in my car.
Wow.
And and 30 deals, this is a lot.
Mhm.
It's a couple of months. And it's never even, right? It's never like 2 a month.
No, it's
It
5
is.
this month
It
and
is.
0
Yeah,
next.
it's 7 this month and none and 12 and anyway. So I was like, okay, well, in order to justify hiring help, my business has to grow by X, right? And I had no clue how to even have an assistant. Like that sounds like a weird statement.
No, I can attest, not with you, but that's a hard thing when
'Cause
you've gone your whole life doing things for
Being the guy,
yourself
the only guy.
and being the man, it's hard for people like you to step back
what do
and
I hand
go,
off?
okay,
Yeah.
This is so important,
right.
and I do it right. So what do I hand off at the risk of you not doing it
Yes,
right?
and how long do I need to wait for this person to learn it?
Exactly.
And real estate isn't something
We
that
can't
you
afford big
just
mess ups.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not something you just pick up.
Right.
Like, here you go, new assistant, you're good, get started. It
So
takes time.
so at that point in my life, I was working with the college ministry at my church. And so I had all these college kids that were looking to me for spiritual guidance, which when I look back at that is so incredibly absurd. But anyway, thankfully I had a guy named Rob Hartman that was my my co person there, and he's way better of a dude than I am. Love you, Rob. And he's now moved to Ohio. I miss you too, buddy. But anyway, so and there was a young lady in my group that got her real estate license, and she discovered very quickly that she hates the prospecting piece of it, but she's very competent. And so, you know, of course, we were talking about everything, and I said, "Hey, let me hire you." And so she comes on board, and she's like, "Okay, well, what do I do?" And I was like, "Well, your only job is to read my mind." And she's like, "That's dumb." And I'm
I
like,
was told that in the beginning as
"Yeah."
well.
And I was like, "Yeah, it is pretty dumb, but no, seriously, I need you to do that."
Yeah.
And so she started working for me, Taylor, and the very next year, we didn't quite get 60 transactions. We got 58. And
pretty good.
and it would have been impossible for me to do that without her help. And she got pretty decent at reading my mind. And so since that point, I like now I don't even know for sure that I could process an entire deal through the Keller Williams system on my own. Like honestly, I probably could.
I'm happy to train you.
No, I'm good. I probably could do it, but it would probably literally take me a day to do that
Yeah.
because I just don't.
You
Like I
just
don't deal
don't
with
do
it.
it.
I don't deal with
Yeah.
that part. But what that does is that frees me up to do stuff like this, to talk to people like you, to pour into Shannon and John Michael and Trent, and to answer questions and to work on work on relationships, to do the things that I am good at and enjoy, and I'm not saddled with 3 hours of office work every single day.
I like it. That's good.
And thank God for people that will do the paperwork because it's horrible.
It's the worst.
It's just so
Yeah,
bad.
it's not fun. But
No, it's
that's
not
okay.
fun.
We do what we do and we move forward.
Yeah. So Michelle supervises that, and then our girl Kendall over there at Middle Tennessee or Middle
Tennessee transactions.
Tennessee transactions. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just Kendall. That's what I know. Thankfully, she's the one that chases down all the docs.
The loose end. Yeah.
Michelle, you're good at that too.
Oh, thanks, Trent. I appreciate
You
it.
are.
But I'm better on the marketing, event planning. I mean, I can do it all. But I prefer to
Well, Kendall's
to
doing the
plan
Lord's
and
work
take care.
with
Yeah.
with
Kendall,
chasing paperwork down.
mad props for Kendall Gray. You guys love her. Would hate to do this without her.
I won't. I
So
won't do it without her.
yeah, it's just good to have somebody knowledgeable. And I think that is what makes us a great team. And no, he did not pay me to say this. But I think that's what makes us a great team. Because Jonathan, you do listen when we talk to you and we say, "Hey, this is a challenge and this is a challenge." And you're like, "Okay, what do we need to do? How do we work it
Don't
out
bring
and
me a
make it
problem
better?"
without a solution.
Yeah.
That's facts.
And, if we need to, we make changes and we move forward. Or maybe we need to step back and let it ride for a minute. Whatever
Yeah.
it is,
And
you're
I'll
good
listen
at
to
that.
your suggestion for a solution, and I'll take it under advisement. You can't bring me a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with
It
that.
might not be one that we can implement, but it's not a bad idea. And maybe that bad idea, what you think is a bad idea, is what sparks the good idea.
Something else.
So
Yeah.
so don't ever be afraid of bringing me an idea because you think it's a bad idea. Hell, some of my favorite things that have ever happened have been horrible ideas.
I'm pretty good at
Terrible
bad
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
like, this is the dumbest
yeah.
idea ever. And it's,
And it can lead to a great one.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it works.
I know
Yeah,
for sure
yeah.
I brought Jonathan some ideas, and then after I say it, he kind of looks at me, and then I'm thinking as it comes out of my mouth, "Oh, why did I say that? That was dumb." But he's always gracious about it, and he never makes me feel like, "Oh, you're so stupid. Why did you say that?" That's not how he
No, we're going to
rolls.
evaluate it.
Yeah.
And it might be a terrible idea. And I'll be like,
And it might be.
that's not going to work.
Yeah,
Love you, mean it. But
it's true.
nah.
On that note, let's talk leadership. Who are some leaders you really admire? Because I admire you as a leader.
Thank you.
You're really good at what we just said, like taking the reins and seeing the problems and identifying solutions and implementing it and delegating and stuff that I consider you one of the better people at those things. So
I appreciate that.
where have you learned that, and who are some that you look up to?
So I've been very blessed to have several very good leaders in my life that I can mirror, and can take pieces of what they do. I've also been very blessed to have some really lousy leaders in my life, and I mean that because I can take what they do and go, man, I don't ever want to make someone feel that way, and usually that's what it boils down to. So I'm going to start with a guy named Clark Harrell, Dr. Clark Harrell, as a matter of fact. He is currently the principal at Stewart's Creek High School. And he was, remember me getting fired story? He was the assistant principal who I was in the office with, right? That the principal came down to. And so Good Friday and the rest of the school year, none of the other assistant principals nor the main principal, not a single one of them, talked to me. Period. Hard stop. They didn't talk to me. I was already gone. And he still,
Whoa.
yeah,
After that happened, they didn't talk to you?
at all.
Wow.
Oh.
Instant pariah status.
Yeah. Yeah. They moved on, right? And Clark still not only still talked to me, but he still treated me like a professional. He still checked up on me. He still wanted me to do the best in my class. Like, he treated me like a professional all the way, even now, until he left. And I will never forget that. And I will never treat someone like that, right? People have value, period, right? Even if they no longer necessarily carry an intrinsic value to you, people have value, and you should treat them that way, right? So Clark Harrell, love that man. Number 2 is going to be my first at my first real estate office, Mr. Tom Andrews. So I was at Weichert Realtors, the Andrews Group, and Tom is the owner. He was the broker. So we had a lady named Lynn Huffman that was the broker first, and I absolutely love that lady. She knew the contract. I teach contracts. She knew the contract better than any Baptist preacher knows the Bible. I'm telling you, she knew page.
That's big.
Oh my word. Like, she would be like, line 742, the third word, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and she was right every time. I'm like, Lynn, how did you do that? It's amazing. Anyway, she was incredible. But she stepped out of that role, and Tom took the reins as the broker, but he was always a mentor there because he was the owner and an active agent. And one of my favorite lessons, it was so simple. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and with a bald head like this and big old ears like these, when I get frustrated, when I get flustered, everything
It all
turns
gets
red.
red.
And I walked into the office, and I don't know, I'm less than a year or so into the business, and I'm just like, I look like a lobster. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Come here." So we stepped into his office, and he goes, "Tell me what's happening." And I just puked, like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, sorry I asked. He's like, "Take a deep breath."
Yeah.
He goes, "Have you talked to your clients?" "Yes, blah, blah, blah." "Okay, stop talking to your clients." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, you need to calm down, because your emotion pours into your client's emotion, and they're already emotional. So you need to be the captain of the ship. You need to be calm. You need to drive the ship, and you need to convey to them that it's under control. You're going to resolve this, and you're calm, so that they will be calm and they will make rational decisions. So he said, go home, turn off your phone.
Panic behind closed doors.
Nothing
That's
will
what they say in
happen.
nursing too, right?
Nothing will happen in the next 5 hours that can't be resolved in hour 6. And so I did that, turned the phone back on. It was a little stressful, but I was okay. And everything was fine. And I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that.
That's great advice, though.
It is. Yeah. And I've said that to you. I've said it to John Michael, and it's just like, and then the next morning I came into my office and he'd left me a bottle of Maker's Mark. And anyway,
You're like, yeah, this
like,
would have helped
So now
yesterday.
it's good.
my man.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Can
I'd
you-
say those two.
Can you just this question and look into that camera and answer it? All right. What does leadership mean to you?
It means a lot. I would say it is having a genuine interest in people. It is having a genuine interest in your people. And it is having a genuine interest in the success of your people. And then the ability to communicate that and to get everybody going basically the same direction.
Beautiful. Thank you. I think we did it.
Well, I think Shannon had
Oh,
one.
keep going. Oh, the
final
closer.
question.
So this is-
And we stopped, and I got one more mentor.
Let's go.
Oh.
And it's super important. My father is the other one, and my mom as well. Guys always want to impress their dads.
Facts.
Do you know what I mean? And my mom loves me because she's my mom, and I was definitely a mama's boy, 100%. Like, it was not even close. But I always wanted to impress my dad, right? And I might actually get emotional here, so I feel it. But my dad is, and my mom too, but my dad is one of the hardest working people I've ever known in my life. Physically, mentally, spiritually. He is an extremely hard worker. And because of him, naturally, if I wanted to hang out with my dad or impress my dad, it was through work. And so I did. I worked a lot as a kid. Have any of you ever been the designated flashlight holder? Have any of you? Have any of you ever been slapped for it?
No.
Here, not here. Here. What's wrong with you, boy? Yeah. No, great experiences, right? So anyway, hand me the Phillips head screwdriver. Why did you hand me a flathead screwdriver? I said a Phillips head. Yeah. Anyway, so I love my dad, and so my work ethic absolutely comes from my parents. And I grew mine out of a desire to impress my father.
That's real. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very nice.
All right, carry on. What was the other question?
Shannon had that
Is this the wrapping it
wrap.
up question?
wrap-up
All right.
question. Yep.
This is a good one.
Okay.
If you could only eat one thing again, what would that be?
Like for the rest of my life, or
you can
like
only
I'm
eat
going to
one
die?
thing. No, you can only eat
Okay.
one thing for the rest of your life. What would be the one thing?
Super.
That's a hard question. Isn't
No,
really
I
is.
got it.
Oh,
I know my answer.
That was quick.
I guess it could be a meal too. Not
Uh-uh.
this one. Okay.
No, I got
he's
it.
got it.
Oh.
I got it. So there's a part of me that's always wanted to be an attorney. So you're going to argue with me and I'm going to win. Okay. Here's my answer. Sandwiches.
Dang.
You know why?
Oh.
Yeah.
Sandwiches.
There's
Because
a
that
lot of different
includes,
sandwiches.
that includes hamburgers. That includes tacos. We can argue that. That includes hot dogs. That includes double-decker pizzas.
Tacos aren't sandwiches.
Yes, they are.
Pizzas.
Double-decker pizzas where they have the crust
Only if
on either
there's
side.
two layers.
Technically a cal- Is
Yeah.
that a calzone? Or same thing.
Calzone.
It is a calzone.
There you go.
There you
Oh
go.
my
Sandwiches.
Hacked. hack the system.
Oh
He's been waiting
man.
on that his whole life.
He
too.
has been waiting on that question.
You're welcome.
Next question.
Mic drop, but do not drop the mic. Don't even touch the mic.
Trent said, "Leave the mic alone."
Even more so, Tom. Yes. Oh man, that was good.
Oh my gosh.
What's your answer?
I don't know.
I'm gonna steal that.
Well, what is it?
I have no
What's your answer?
idea.
You can't ask the
Quesadillas
question. You
go
don't know
into
the
that
answer.
too, right?
Quesadilla. That's a
Yes.
sandwich.
And I could dang near live on quesadillas.
You didn't want that answer, did you?
No.
What's yours? Yeah, we do need to
No,
go
I don't
around.
know.
Oh, mine.
Chicken.
Oh, chicken.
Just chicken, period.
Oh.
That's I could
Different
do that.
varieties
Yeah,
of chicken.
That's fair.
Kinda
Chicken's
goes with the
good.
sandwiches.
Same.
I'd have to do a fried chicken sandwich
Yeah.
because I love fried chicken.
Same.
Mine is pasta because you
There
can
you
put
go.
just about anything on
That's
pasta.
a great answer.
That's a good answer.
That's
Yeah.
a great answer.
That's a good answer.
Yep.
Trent, what's yours?
I think I might steal yours. I mean, that's just
I like
across the
that.
board.
That's
It's
a
across
good
the
one.
board. And I could definitely live on pasta too. I could
Yeah.
do like a combination of all
Right.
three girls. Yeah. And I'm
But
a
you can
chicken
put
guy.
pasta on bread and make it a pasta sandwich
And
too.
chicken
See?
was my go-to
Ta-da.
every time. So
Yeah. Well, or you can make really big ravioli.
wow.
A ravioli
That's a
sandwich.
big, that's hilarious.
Like a
It's
panini.
like
hard to hold,
or they're
but-
just
panini. That's
or
right.
they're very little sandwiches. I had 38 sandwiches today.
You eat a new sandwich
That's
for the
a
rest of
Mitch
your
Hedberg.
life.
Yeah.
Rice is my favorite thing to eat when I want to eat 1,000 of something.
Yeah.
Mitch Hedberg, yes.
Damn, weird.
R.I.p. Mitch Hedberg, one of my
Yeah.
all-time favorites. Yeah.
Go his own way.
Man,
Man,
you
we
sure do
killed
like
that.
Todd.
That's so good. Oh man, that was great. Good job, team.
That was
We
fun.
did it.
That was fun. I'm not nervous anymore. Y'all did a good job.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Way to be great, everybody.
Very good. Hey, thanks for
You did great.
watching. I
John
hope
Michael,
you had a
feel
good
better?
time. John Michael,
Yes.
get better,
feel
dude. We
better.
miss you.
Thank you for
And,
not sharing
yes.
We
your
need to do this more.
illness with us.
We should do this more often.
We
Yes, it's
should.
fun.
Put it
We
out
should.
there.
That was fun. Good
Flip the script
times.
things.
All right. If you have mortgage needs, give our friend Bryan Nale a call. If you have real estate needs, you got
Call
a
the squad.
room full of
J Harmon Home
geniuses
Team.
in
Let's
here.
go.
That's
If
it.
you have questions about any J Harmon Home Team events, message me.
Yes,
That's right.
that's it. Because I'll probably be like, let me check
Talk
with
to
Michelle.
Yep.
I'll be like, call Michelle.
Hey, but in all seriousness, we need to know about the heroes in our community. So we do
Yes.
the Hero Award once a month. Trent's going to put the link up for the form to fill out,
Nomination. Yeah.
nomination form. The hero thing, we get lots of nominations for Teacher of the Month, and that's great. We love our teachers. The hero thing, I think, makes people uncomfortable. I think it's uncomfortable to call someone a hero for them just doing what their job is. But
Yeah.
what we're looking for on that is someone that goes above and beyond on a regular basis just because they can and because they feel compelled to. Right? So that hero, man, it can be anybody that's just doing the work consistently and is worth emulating.
That's it.
That's who we're looking
I
for.
like that. I like that description. Someone who is worth emulating. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great description of what we're looking for.
So if you know that person, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your pastor, maybe it is someone with a nonprofit, maybe it is a first responder, maybe it is a soldier, maybe it's somebody. One of my favorites that we've ever had is Gma, where she was dealt a pretty bad hand, and she accepted it with open arms, and she is killing it right now. She is raising 2 kids that are not her own while simultaneously taking care of her parents that are not able to take care of themselves and leading a productive life of her own as well. That's a hero, y'all.
And
that's
keeping a smile on her
Yeah.
face.
All the time.
Yeah,
Gma
she's
legend.
just very positive.
That's a hero, y'all.
Yeah.
There's lots of people in our community like that.
Yes.
Yep.
So we want to hear their stories.
That's right. Reach out. Do the things.
That's
Do
it.
it. Do
The
it.
form's right
Tell
here
us.
somewhere. We'll have it in a very convenient spot for you to fill out.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you again soon.